We are the light of science to brighten minds.
We are the magic of knowledge given from one to another.
We
are teachers.
Hello, and welcome to the We Are Teachers Wattcast, episode number 19. My name is Sandy Fifecoat, and I will be your host.
This Wattcast is sponsored by American College of Education. The college is transforming the way teachers teach through affordable, applicable, and accessible master's degree programs for educators and school leaders. If you're looking for ways to achieve results, an online master's degree program from American College of Education can provide you with the tools to influence the direction of your classroom, your curriculum, your school, and your career.
Today on our Wattcast, we are discussing a new graduate program which allows working teachers to earn their Master of Education while at the same time enhancing their classroom instruction through something called the LETERS Professional Program. Now, that's an acronym. It stands for Language Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. So to help me with this discussion, I am really excited to be joined today by the literacy expert, Dr. Louisa Moats, as well as Chance Spiker from the American College of Education. Dr. Moats and Mr. Spiker, thank you so much for taking time to join us today. And let's begin. Louisa, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Well, I've done a lot of things in education. I have been a teacher, a psychologist, and school psychologist in private practice. I've been a graduate school instructor. I've been a researcher, and I've done a lot of consultation work with various agencies, and now my job is the support of the LETERS Professional Development Program and the writing of professional development materials and also spelling instructional programs.
Wonderful. Well, I can't wait to dig into the content today with you with that kind of background. Chance, tell us a bit about your background as well.
Thank you. My name is Chance Spiker, and I am the Vice President of Technology and Program Development with the American College of Education. And I've had the great pleasure and honor of working closely with Dr. Moats as we developed a 3-course concentration in reading essentials. It's been a fantastic process working with Dr. Moats. I'm glad to be here with her today.
Wonderful. Well, let's jump right in. Dr. Moats, tell us a little bit about the history of this LETERS Professional Development Program, and I think our audience might be particularly interested in the research behind this approach.
Okay. Well, there are several threads in my past that led to the development of LETERS. First of all, my own education and experience is one of the reasons I developed LETERS. When I was trained as a teacher and when I was practicing as a teacher, even with a master's degree, I realized that I didn't really know what to do when I had students with reading, spelling, writing, and language problems, and I realized that most of what I was taught in my licensing programs and in my graduate program was not really useful in either deciding what to do with the students or in carrying out the instruction. So I knew that I needed to know and understand much more than I did. And finally, when I got into a doctoral program at the Harvard Graduate School of Education many years ago, the light dawned when I took some courses in language from some eminent professors there and began to understand reading acquisition and reading difficulty and its relationship with spelling, writing, and oral language in a way that really supported decision-making about students. And then as I began to teach, after graduate school, I started teaching my own graduate courses at several different institutions. I taught teachers, and then I taught psychologists at Dartmouth College who were studying their internships for clinical psychology and who needed to understand the educational issues that their that their patients or clients were facing. So in the process of doing all of that, I realized how little most of my students knew or understood about the nature of the ubiquitous reading problems that many of their students or clients were presenting. So I began to think, well, why is it that this knowledge base is so hard to come by? Not everybody can go to the Harvard Graduate School of Education and take courses from eminent linguists. This information should be available to all teachers in training. So there was just that extensive experiential base for my decisions about what to put in the courses. And then I had the ultimate test, which was a very large project, a research project funded by the National Institutes of Health that we conducted in Washington, D.C. and Houston over a period of 5 years. My collaborators on the project were Barbara Foreman, Jack Fletcher, and Dave Francis, an eminent research team, and we were able to study the impact of professional development on the knowledge and behavior of teachers, and then ultimately on the outcomes for the students in these high-poverty urban schools where the entering achievement level was very low in the students, and 70 to 80% of the students were at risk for reading failure unless we did something about it. So I, in my naivete, decided that all these teachers needed was this knowledge base that I was so committed to. And I learned a lot in the process of designing the courses. We had some extra funding from Congress to deliver courses and professional development seminars and workshops to the teachers. And after this 4 years of instruction, we were able to document through very sophisticated research that the professional development factor was one of the major, if not the major, factors in accounting for accelerated achievement in the students. And the students at the end of 4th grade in these high-poverty schools ended up in the middle of the average range and were not falling back at the end of 4th grade. And what we were able to show is that the teachers gained a tremendous amount of knowledge, but that it changed their teaching practices when they understood what it was that was holding the kids back and what they needed to do to address the fundamental language and literacy issues that the students presented. So that was a tremendous validation for me that the content of language and literacy that we were teaching was in fact a powerful change agent, along with all of the other things we were doing, which was coaching and mentoring, the provision of good instructional materials, which the teachers had not had before, and the creation of a supportive professional context for learning to improve instruction.
Well, very interesting. Now, let's talk a little bit about history. I know that 10, 20 years ago, there was a certain way of teaching reading, thinking about literacy, but things have really changed over the last few years. What particular challenges do you see teachers face today versus several years ago?
Well, there are new challenges, but, and the challenges, of course, are that more students are coming to school without adequate preparation for language and literacy learning, and so the burden on the teacher to do something about this is greater than ever. There's more pressure from society and from policymakers to ensure that all students become at least adequate readers, and right now we still have 33% of our 4th graders below basic and only about a third of our students reading at proficient and advanced levels, and there's much greater awareness of the impact of these problems on academic achievement in general, and then long-term life outcomes for students, including whether or not they stay in school. So that has changed. But also, I would say what has changed is our research base for understanding what to do. So it's not just social conditions that have changed and educational conditions, but the research that's available to us, for example, that shows how critical it is that we identify students early and do something about their deficits in early language and literacy preparation before those problems blossom into full-blown academic failure. I mean, that path to success is so clearly illuminated by the research that we have that we cannot any longer ignore it. And then there's the role of technology in education, and I'll let Chance talk about that.
Yes, Chance, tell us, what is the impact of technology over the last few years in this space?
One of the goals in all ACE course development projects is to keep the information relevant and accessible. Educators today have very little time to stay abreast of the latest research and findings and to continuously improve their classroom effectiveness. So we worked very closely with Dr. Moats to adapt her curriculum into an online format that is both flexible and accessible at a time that's convenient for teachers and students. So we really focused on accessible, useful content that can really impact a teacher's classroom practice. At the same time, we really focused on keeping the content immediately applicable in the on-campus classroom. So really think of this as just-in-time delivery and access to high-quality graduate-level professional development.
That's great, and I know certainly making it easy for teachers to get additional professional development, additional degree work done, as well as apply it back to the classroom that while they're teaching is a huge value that this kind of technology-based program can provide. And I, for one, am really grateful to see such an effort here, because I think there's that interjection of technology is going to make a big difference for these teachers out there. They're dealing with a lot of challenges today. Let's talk a little bit about curriculum. And I know there's a big shift to Common Core standards in most states, not all, but certainly Common Core standards will have a big influence on how curriculum is developed over time. What is the impact, Dr. Moats, on this kind of shift, and how does the LETRS program address this shift to Common Core?
Well, I'm glad you're asking about this. I was a contributing writer to the Common Core standards, particularly the foundations part of the reading and language arts standards, but I also had some say in the language standards and literature and writing standards. So I'm intimately familiar with the Common Core state standards. The relationship between these standards and LETRS is that LETRS gives teachers a broad understanding of research-based principles for instruction that should, number one, prevent reading failure in the first place and ensure that kids are off to a solid start and are able to achieve reading fluency by the end of third grade. But also, we have strong modules that address language and reading comprehension, particularly vocabulary and comprehension of text at a deep level, and what it takes to enable students to read closely, as the standards like to say, and to read more complex text. LETRS is about teaching kids how to read. It's not about the content of a good English literacy course. That's beyond what LETRS tries to do. So Letters prepares teachers to address the basic needs of students who are at risk for falling behind and students who do not read with adequate fluency and comprehension to attain the higher level or loftier goals that characterize the standards at the middle school and high school levels.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's so important, and I know right now, particularly even politically in our society, there's just such pressure to really do a decent job of diagnosis, remediation, intervention with these students. So it's really nice to know that there's a formal training program available to teachers to help them with that. Now, I know that you are, of course, most of our audience who's listening to this probably knows that you're really a world-renowned supporter of teacher growth and development in the literacy education space, and certainly as one of the authors of some of the Common Core standards. Most of our reading teachers who are listening today know your name. What encouraged you to collaborate? I know Sopris is the publisher of the Letters program, and what do you think caused that collaboration to work with the American College of Education for this graduate level course and online professional development project?
Well, there were really two factors that encouraged this collaboration. One was that we had already created Letters online for professional development, and yet the capacity of our platform was very limited in relation to what ACE offered. The ACE platform is more sophisticated than what we started with at Sopris. It affords a real opportunity to build graduate level courses with much more discussion and interaction and accountability for learning. And also, even with the more rudimentary platform that we had been working with in Letters Online, we had seen already that students who took the courses online, even as we had developed them originally, were learning as much, if not more, than the students who are in the face-to-face courses or workshops that we were teaching in schools and districts. So I became convinced even before we started the collaboration with ACE that students certainly were not going to lose any of the impact of the learning experience by studying it online. And as soon as I conferred with the ACE course designers, mainly Chance Spiker here, I was very impressed with the sophistication of the ACE platform and the capacity for ACE to build this reading concentration in a way that was going to be exciting and very effective.
Chance, what comments do you have about this relationship between ACE and Sopris and Letters? How's that going, and how do you see the use of this technology for teaching literacy in general?
You know, that's a great question. As the American College of Education looked to develop a literacy and reading program steeped in research and highly applicable for today's teachers, Dr. Moats' name was the first author who came to mind. I would say that through her collaboration with the American College of Education, that we are helping expand the accessibility of Dr. Moats Literacy Academy. So whether teachers are seeking online professional development or graduate level training, but they can't make it to a live version of the Letters training, they still have access to a very rich program through our college and through this unique literacy concentration.
That's great. So it really becomes a question of access and scalability then, reaching more teachers with this great content, which the technology has enabled. Let's talk a little bit more about the technology in particular, Chance. I'd love to hear your perspective because I know you're a technologist with a background in technology. I'd love to hear more about what you think anything that you could share with the audience about what it's like to create an online course, and in general, kind of where do you see online education for teachers in particular going in the future? What are some of the trends that you think are going to come out of this use of technology for teacher professional development?
That is another great question. I think the demand for online education is growing so rapidly, and teachers are no exception to that trend. From the state departments of education that need scalable, measurable professional development offerings, to our teachers in rural communities who can't drive 120 miles each night or several times a week to the nearest college campus for graduate credit. Online education really provides a solution, and then sometimes it's the only solution for educators. If you couple that with the mission of the American College of Education to keep our tuition costs low and affordable by leveraging technology such as our Epic LMS platform, we're truly providing a service that's dedicated to teachers.
That's really great, and I know that our teacher audience is going to be excited to learn more. Well, that's really all the time we have available today. Dr. Moats and Mr. Spiker, thank you so much for all your thoughts, your insights. We really appreciate your time today to participate in this Wattcast. And to our listening audience, if you all would like to learn more about what we discussed today, or more about the sponsor of this Wattcast, the American College of Education, we hope you'll visit our blog at weareteachers.com. Also, we would love to hear your thoughts. If you have comments or suggestions for new Wattcast topics, we hope that you will contact us at wattcast@weareteachers.com. Thanks again for joining us, and have a wonderful day.
This Wattcast is sponsored by American College of Education.